You wake up and you're a sponge, not a mighty shark, not a wise old sea turtle, not even a properly evolved sea sponge that camouflages into coral. No, you're a kitchen sponge, a bright yellow porous dish cleaning tool with arms and legs and a soul that's about to suffer for eternity. And your parents? They're chocolate chip cookies. Okay, not really, but that's what you thought as a kid, right? Turns out they're just old dried up sea sponges, which is somehow worse. But you don't have time to process that existential nightmare because you live in a world full of fish, crabs, talking bubbles, and a whale who is somehow the daughter of a crab. And your neighbors? A grumpy octopus who despises your existence, and a starfish who runs on two brain cells, both fighting for third place. And that's your life. It doesn't get better, it only gets weirder. Your first memories? Summer camp. A normal kid's first memories might involve bedtime stories, birthday parties, or learning the concept of personal space. You got drafted into an underwater boot camp for children, and this is where everything went wrong. This is where you met Patrick, dooming yourself to a lifetime of questionable decisions and legally dubious activities. This is where you fell in love with jellyfishing, a hobby that consists of running face first into electrocution for fun. This is where your brain decided optimism was your only survival tactic. And against all odds, it worked. Because instead of growing up to be a bitter, trauma-ridden sea creature, you became this. A living, breathing Looney Tunes character with an unbreakable will to live. But don't celebrate yet, because now you enter the workforce, and that's where your real suffering begins. So, you grow up, you ready to start your adult life, and your dream job? Flipping burgers. Not owning a restaurant, not running a business, just making Krabby Patties forever. And here's how you get hired. You walk into the Krusty Krab, a grease-stained, barely OSHA-compliant burger joint run by a money-obsessed war veteran who once fired you to save a nickel, expecting a normal interview. Instead, Mr. Krabs sends you on a fake employee initiation mission to find a hydrodynamic spatula with port and starboard attachments and turbo drive, a test specifically designed to make you fail. And somehow, you pass. And just like that, your fate is sealed. Your boss, Eugene Krabs, a crustacean so dedicated to capitalism, he once sold you for 62 cents and has legally gotten away with paying you an exposure. Your coworker, Squidward Tentacles, who hates everything but especially you. Your work hours, as many as Mr. Krabs can milk you for. The Krusty Krab has been known to operate 24/7 when it benefits him. Breaks? You wish. Your pay? So low, Mr. Krabs fired you to save a nickel? Who did he think was going to cook during that time? God knows. You'd never gotten a raise, you've never taken a vacation, and you still show up early, unpaid, just to make the place shine. And yet, you love it. No one is forcing you to stay. You could leave, but you won't. Because the truth is, this isn't just a job, it's your entire existence. So, you're an elite-level fry cook, a culinary prodigy, a Krabby Patty Picasso. But there's one thing you absolutely cannot do. Drive. And no, this isn't just bad driving, this is supernatural level incompetence. You failed your driver's test more than Mrs. Puff can legally count. Your teacher, Mrs. Puff, has been hospitalized, jail, and mentally broken, all because of you. Every time you touch a steering wheel, Bikini Bottom enters a state of emergency. At this point, your driving is considered an act of God by insurance companies. And yet, the government keeps letting you try. Which means that despite being an active maritime hazard, you are legally allowed to keep taking the test over and over again. And the worst part? You once actually came close to passing, but then you confessed to cheating. Right before crossing the finish line, you admitted that Patrick had been feeding you the answers through a walkie-talkie hidden in your head. Mrs. Puff was this close to freedom, you were this close to finally being a licensed boater, and then you ruined it. And honestly, this was probably for the best, because if you ever legally got behind the wheel, Bikini Bottom would never recover. Life is already rough, but at least you have a best friend, right? Meet Patrick Starr, a jobless, brainless pink menace. Your best friend, your ride or die, your day one idiot, and also the single biggest reason your life keeps getting worse. Patrick has actively gotten you fired multiple times. Patrick has nearly gotten you arrested. Patrick has literally gotten you killed, and the worst part, he never learns from it. Every time you trust him, you end up broke, unemployed, or nearly dead. And yet, he's your best friend. Because despite being a human hazard in a starfish body, Patrick is the only person in Bikini Bottom who truly gets you. He doesn't judge you, he supports your dumbest ideas. He's the only one who will scream into the abyss with you for fun. And that's worth all the suffering. Right? At this point, your life is already in shambles. Your job, a dead-end grease trap. Your best friend, a walking lawsuit waiting to happen. Your driving skills, legally classified as terrorism. But then, you meet Sandy, a literal squirrel from Texas. And somehow, she's the only person in your life with a functioning brain. She built an underwater biodome just to survive. She's a karate master who beats you up for fun. She's an astronaut, a scientist, and smarter than every fish in Bikini Bottom combined. And for some reason, she likes you, which naturally means you immediately tries to impress her. And what's your first move? Attempting to survive in her air-filled tree dome without water. Because in your tiny little sponge brain you thought, I can just hold it in, right? Spoiler, you couldn't. Within minutes, your body shrivels up like a raisin on a summer sidewalk, but somehow, you survive. And from that moment on, Sandy became the only person in your life with actual common sense, which, in Bikini Bottom, is a superpower. At this point, you're barely surviving your daily life. But did you know you're also the biggest security threat in Bikini Bottom? See, you alone know the Krabby Patty's secret formula, and a few other people, but we don't dwell on that. Which means every single day you are the #1 target of an actual supervillain. Meet Plankton, a 1-inch tall evil scientist who has spent his entire existence trying to steal a burger recipe. A genius? Technically. Successful? Absolutely not, and he's tried everything to get that formula out of your brain. Bribery? Failed. You would rather work for free than accept money. Mind control? Failed. You somehow broke free with sheer optimism. Disguises? Failed. One time he dressed up as a giant Krabby Patty, and you still didn't crack. Straight up violence? Failed. He built a literal tank, stormed the Krusty Krab, and still lost. Infiltrating your body? Oh yeah, that happened. The dude piloted you like a mech suit and still fumbled the bag. And through all of this, you never break. Not because of strength, not because of intelligence, just pure, unfiltered Spongebob-ness, otherwise known as plot armor. At this point, even you feel bad for him, but not bad enough to let him win. So you survived your job, your best friend, and a tiny criminal mastermind. But childhood you still had one dream left. You wanted to be a superhero, because growing up you idolized Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Bikini Bottom's greatest heroes. Well, formerly great. Now, they're just two elderly, barely functioning retirees who just want to be left alone, but you refuse to let that happen. You track them down at their retirement home, you beg them to come out of retirement, you drag them into multiple life-threatening battles, and somehow, it works. They actually start fighting crime again, except there's one problem. They're way too old for this. Mermaid Man's memory is so bad, he barely remembers his own name. Barnacle Boy is just bitter and tired. Half the time you cause more problems than you solve, and then you actually make them enemies. Yep, Barnacle Boy gets so fed up with you, he straight up turns evil. And you somehow make things worse. You push him into joining Bikini Bottom's Legion of Doom. You force Mermaid Man into a full-on senior citizen war. You nearly destroy their friendship forever, but in the end, they always forgive you. Because deep down, even though you've single-handedly ruined their retirement, they know you're their biggest fan. And if they don't deal with you, you'll never leave them alone. After years of absolute chaos, someone finally tells you the truth. And it's none other than Squidward. You're not normal, Spongebob, and that gets to you. For the first time ever, you stop and think, wait, what if I just acted normal? And by normal, we mean lifeless corporate drone energy. You stop being loud, you stop being weird, you literally round out your edges, because apparently normal people aren't shaped like Swiss cheese. And suddenly, you're just another guy. And at first, people think it's an improvement, but then, everyone realizes it's cursed. Patrick is horrified. Your job performance tanks. Even Squidward, the guy who hates you, wants the old SpongeBob back. But here's the real horror. You try to go back, and you can't. You physically can't be weird anymore. And then, it gets worse. One day, Squidward shows up looking exactly like you. Same soulless stare, same empty existence, same cursed normal energy. And that's what finally breaks you. Because if Squidward, the most miserable person alive, embraces this lifeless existence, then what does that say about you? And just like that, you snap. Your holes return, your energy surges back, because no matter how much Bikini Bottom ruins your life, you are SpongeBob SquarePants, and you can't escape that. But just when you think you've reclaimed your identity, Bikini Bottom reminds you why being yourself isn't always a good thing. Because now, you're working the night shift. And working the night shift of the Krusty Krab, already a nightmare. But tonight, it gets worse. Because instead of doing his job, Squidward decides to traumatize you with a ghost story. The hash-slinging slasher. A former fry cook fired after a tragic spatula accident. Now, he haunts the Krusty Krab, seeking revenge. He appears when the lights flicker, the phone rings with no answer, and a mysterious bus arrives with no passengers. And when he finally shows up, you die. Naturally, you start spiraling, because this is Bikini Bottom, where ghost pirates, sentient robots, and interdimensional jellyfish exist. So when the lights start flickering and a shadowy figure appears outside, you're already planning your funeral. And then, it's just some guy, not a ghost, not a slasher, just an extremely bad hire who showed up for his first shift. So yeah, you lived. Your trust issues, though, permanent. But that's just another Tuesday in Bikini Bottom. And honestly, that's not even the weirdest thing that's happened to you. Because the real horror, it's not ghosts or night shifts or even capitalism. It's waking up one day and realizing you don't even know who you are anymore. So there came a time, as does in all our lives, where the only company you have is yourself. But you, Spongebob, can't handle loneliness pants, just couldn't bear that and thought all your friends hated you. So you did the mature thing. You ran away, which led to you falling off a cliff and dying. Kidding, you wake up with amnesia, like fully, no idea who you are. No name, no job, no clue why you wear a suit every day. Just pure unfiltered identity crisis. So, what do? You wander into a whole new city and accidentally become its ruler. Yeah, that happens. You stumble into New Kelp City, a place overrun by bubble-hating criminals, and in one single brainless moment, you wipe out their entire gang with a bubble. Now the entire city's looking at you like you're some kind of god king. Meanwhile, back in Bikini Bottom, your disappearance has catastrophic consequences. The Krusty Krab collapses without you, Mr. Krabs is in financial ruin, Squidward almost feels joy, Patrick spends 3 days not realizing you're missing, Sandy starts actively researching if sponges can be abducted by aliens, but you're thriving. For the first time in your life, you're not flipping burgers for a penny, you have power, you have respect, you have a mayoral sash. And then, your old life drags you back. Patrick, Sandy, and Squidward track you down and start hitting you with memory-triggering nonsense, but nothing works, you're too far gone. Then, in a cosmic act of slapstick karma, Squidward slips on a spatula, launching a Fabergé egg directly at your head. It smacks you so hard reality resets. And just like that, you're Spongebob again. Your career in politics, over. Your taste in freedom, gone. Your destiny, right back behind the grill. And if you think this is the lowest point of your life, buddy, you clearly don't remember what happened at Goofy Goobers. This was supposed to be your moment. After years of unpaid labor, overtime shifts, and enduring Squidward's constant threats of arson, Mr. Krabs finally recognizes your hard work. He's opening a second Krusty Krab, and guess what? You're getting promoted to manager. Your suffering is finally paid off, or at least that's what you thought. Because at the last second, Mr. Krabs picks Squidward instead. Why? Because apparently you're just a kid. And in that moment, something inside you shatters. You don't just take the loss and move on. No, you spiral. You drown your sorrows in Goofy Goober ice cream. You get blackout wasted on sugar. You sing an entire musical number about your downfall. By the end of the night, you're barefoot, disabled, and fully unhinged, slumped over a table in an ice cream-induced existential crisis. And while you're too busy going through it, Plankton finally wins. Because while you were busy hitting rock bottom, he pulled off the greatest crime in Bikini Bottom history. He stole King Neptune's crown and framed Mr. Krabs for it. Neptune is about to incinerate Mr. Krabs when you decide to butt in. Despite everything he's put you through, despite years of underpaying and overworking you, you decide to save him, which means you have to get the crown back. But there's just one problem. It's in Shell City, a place so dangerous, so legendary that no one has ever returned. And somehow, you and Patrick are the only ones willing to go. Your simple rescue mission immediately becomes a life-or-death survival game, where you get attacked by a hitman, you get humiliated by an entire biker gang, you almost die in a trench full of sea monsters, you and Patrick both nearly get executed. But against all odds, you survive. You actually make it back to Bikini Bottom, crown in hand, ready to save Mr. Krabs. But there's just one small problem. While you were gone, Plankton stole the Krabby Patty formula and took over the entire city. How? By giving out free mind control helmets with his burgers. Top tier marketing, gotta say. And just when it looks like this is the end, you unlock the power of Goofy Goober Rock. You go full rock god mode. You single-handedly destroy Plankton's entire army. You free Bikini Bottom from mind control. You humiliate Plankton in front of literally everyone. And then, you return as the hero of the ocean. Mr. Krabs is so grateful, so moved by your sacrifice that he finally makes you the manager. Which sounds like a win, but then, it hits you. This isn't freedom, this is just another cycle. And, just like that, everything resets. Mr. Krabs is unfrozen, the Krusty Krab is back in business, Plankton is quite literally stomped back into irrelevance. And you go right back to work. Same spatula, same grill, same Squidward pretending he doesn't care. Like nothing ever happened. And if this feels familiar, that's because it is. Because the truth is, the cycle never ends. You wake up, you go to work, you get mistreated, you smile through it, you suffer, you sleep, repeat, forever. No matter what happens, no matter how many wild adventures, promotions, or near-death experiences you survive, you always reset. Why? Because your show never ends. Every episode rewinds the timeline. You will never age, you will never leave, you will never escape the Krusty Krab, and that's your life. An endless loop of flipping burgers, chasing jellyfish, and annoying a squid who isn't even a squid. Forever. So, congratulations, you're SpongeBob SquarePants, and you always will be.